Hello, my professors. Welcome to today's lesson. In today's lesson, we are going to have a look at the solution to the core math class test on vectors and statistics. This is Mr. Hackman, your core and relative math facilitator for Omega vacation classes. Okay, so quickly, let's look at the solution, which happens to be the marking scheme as well. So you are supposed to use that as a guide to mark what your work and score yourselves as well. Okay, so let's go and look at the first question. Okay, and in fact, most of the questions were, if not all, were questions that we've seen before. So I expected everyone to do okay well, but surprisingly, some of you didn't do well, but no problem. I've told you A1 is a process. You just have to learn from your mistakes, okay, and make sure, okay, you don't repeat those mistakes, okay. And if you do so, you are so close, okay, or you are on the journey to getting, okay, your A1 successfully. Okay, so that was just by the way. Quickly, let's look at the first question. So let's read the first question and I'll walk you through the solution of the scheme, marking scheme. Okay, so we are told the point P74 is a vectors of, okay, the triangle PQR. If QP, the vector QP, is 3, 5 in the column form, and the vector PR is minus 3, 4. Find the coordinates of P and Q. So when you read this must be underlined. Very critical coordinates. Okay, that will guide you as to how to leave your final answer, okay, with respect to the A. Then B, the vector Pn, we are supposed to find the vector Pn where n is the midpoint of what? QR. So the n here is the midpoint of what? QR. Equally, if you like, you can underline that. Okay, so let's see. After reading the question, you know the first thing that you write is solution, followed by the question number. Okay, so questions are numbered because we equally want you to number your solution. I've told you anytime a question is given, try and extract the information given that will help you give the solution to the question. So with the point and the two vectors given, we can extract. So if you do that, that will be B1. Okay. And I've told you anytime you are dealing with vectors question and you are given a point, try and let us know the vector version of the point. And we know that every point is a position vector. So this must, okay, be indicated because you know you are going to work with vectors rather than what points. Okay, so the vector form of what the point, okay, P here will be the position vector OP, okay, which is represented, okay, in the column form as 7, 4. If you do that, B half, take note. All right, so at this point, we come to A. A, what are we supposed to find? We are supposed to find, okay, the vector QR. And we know that the vector QR, forgive me, the vector QP. The vector QP, okay, it's a free vector, and every free vector is, we can express it in terms of position vectors. Let me pick the laser so that you can see. Okay, so this we know is the same as the vector OP, position vector OP minus position vector of what? Q, the point which is what? OQ. Okay, now what do? We are looking for, okay, the coordinates of what? Of Q and what? And R. So let's continue. Once you know the vector, okay, for Q, you know the point or the coordinates of what? The vector, or sorry, the point Q. Okay, because we just as we can move from point to vectors, we can move from vectors towards point. Okay, so in this case, what do you do? Okay, you come and substitute, you know vector QP. Okay, that is given as 3, 5. You substitute all the known vectors. You know vector OP. This is what you have here. Okay, then minus O vector OQ, what you are looking for, which will help you find the coordinates of the point Q. So now what do we do? Okay, we know we are making OQ the subject vector OQ. So you move this one to the side and bring this one here. So that will give us vector OQ is equal to, okay, 7, 4. Then you bring this one here minus what? The vector 3, 5. So the vector OQ will be equal to 7 minus 3 will give us 4. 4 minus 5 will give us what? Minus 1. So that will give us the vector, okay, OQ. So if you like, somebody can come and draw the conclusion here. Okay, I will come to how to mark in such a situation. So let me flow with the presentation that is here. And again, remember you've been told that once the figure is mentioned in the question, okay, you are compelled to draw. It is very, very important. You are compelled to draw. So this diagram, okay, must be part of your solution. And obviously look at the marks that is attracted. Okay, so if you didn't draw, you can see the marks that you are losing. Again, then if you can get the point R, okay, from using the vector PR, because that will give you vector OR minus vector OP. Again, you go and substitute and you make OR the subject. So you move this one to the side, keep the OR here. In my mind, okay, that is what I did. Though I kept the vector OR here, I know that, okay, I maintain this, then move this one to that side, and that will give me plus 7 what 4. Okay, so if you have this, okay, the whole of this to this side and this one here is the same thing. Okay, you know, there is nothing wrong in terms of what the algebra. So at this point, we can combine these two vectors. We know how to add, how to subtract, okay, vectors. So minus 3 plus 7 will give us 4. Then it will be 4 plus what 4. That will give us 8 as what the y component. Okay, so once you know OR and you know OQ, we know the coordinates of the point Q and R. That's what we were asked to find. So at this point, what do you do? Therefore, the point Q, its coordinates will be 4, -1, and the point R, its coordinates will be 4, 8. You don't leave it in the column form because your point here, okay, with this point built up into the vectors came in the row form, remember. So let that guide you to leave any point that you are asked to find. And like I said, someone can come and write, therefore, okay, Q is equal to, okay, 4, -1, or therefore Q 4, -1. In that case, okay, your one mark here, you take one mark, okay, from the two here, and that will be for that conclusion. And another person, okay, or you can equally draw your conclusion for OR just below it. Okay, so and that one too will take the conclusion mark, one mark from here. However, like I advise, because these two were asked together, when you are drawing your conclusion, you equally draw it together. Okay, it is ideal, it is advisable to draw it together. But that notwithstanding, you can separate your conclusion, okay, as well. So that will be it for what we have here. And if you had the diagram drawn without the arrows, okay, please, it will be, okay, so without this arrow, it will be -1. Without this arrow, it will be -1. So take note. So -1 for each arrow. Okay, take note of that. So now we come to B. B, what are we supposed to find? We are supposed to find the vector Pn. And we know that the free vector Pn will be equal to the vector On minus the vector Op. Fortunately for us, we know the vector Op. Okay, but we don't know the vector On. Okay, we don't know the vector On. Okay, take note. Okay, so I think there is something that I was supposed to do here that I didn't do. So let me quickly go and effect that change. Okay, then come back. Okay, so I've gone to do okay the correction there. All right, so like I was saying, let me pick the laser so that you can clearly see where I was. Okay, so you know the free vector Pn will be equal to the guys, yes, the free vector Pn will be equal to, in terms of position, will be equal to your terminal On vector minus Op vector. So here we know, okay, this. Okay, but we don't know this, so we need to go and find that. Okay, before we can find the Pn. Okay, so On, we are told that n is the midpoint of the vector, okay, Qr. And because there's a vector, the n here, which is a midpoint, is also supposed to be a vector, and it will be a position vector. So the position vector On will be equal to, you know, the midpoint formula, half of, okay, the sum of the two position vector, the position vectors of these 2 points. So it will be OQ plus OR, vector OQ plus vector OR. And that will be equal to half of what OQ vector you know, OR vector you know as well. You substitute. Then you come and deal with what you have in the square bracket, which gives us 4 plus 4, then which is 8, then -1 plus 8, which will give us 7. So half of that. Okay, so by so doing, okay, we are going to get this. Okay, we'll get 4 and 7 over 2. It's not necessary to change it to mixed numbers because this is not your final answer. Okay, or if you like, you can take it to decimal, but like I always advise, okay, if possible, avoid working with decimal. With this why decimal will be exact. Okay, so if you want to write, you can write, but okay, let's stick to our usual advice. You avoid decimals, okay, if possible. So in this case, once we know vector ON, okay, we know indirectly know the vector PN. So therefore, the vector PN will be equal to, remember we said it will be the vector ON, which is what we have found, minus the vector OP. So the vector ON is this minus the vector OP, which is what we have here. So if you subtract, you are going to get corresponding component 4 minus 7, which will give us minus 3. Then 7 over 2 minus 4. Remember, 7 over 4, 2 is what? 3.5 minus, okay, 4 will give us minus half. Okay, so if you like, you can use minus 0.5. It's allowed. This you can also use 3.5. It's allowed. Okay, so at this point, you know your vector Pn. So we are through with the solution for question 1. Okay, and it carries the total mark of what? Of 27 marks. So take note of that. All right. So quickly, let's go and look at what question 2. And question 2, this was also, okay, one of the questions in your project work. I think it was A, B, C, D. Okay, that was the name of the parallelogram. I just changed it to what? PQRS. Okay, so now, so basically the same question. It's just the name or the vertices, okay, of your parallelogram that's, okay, changed. So now, again, if you read the question, these are the 4 vertices of what? A parallelogram, PQRS. Okay, so once the figure is mentioned, you know you are compelled to draw. Okay, all right. Okay, so, and even in situation where you can infer, you are supposed to draw, how much more when it is mentioned? So, let's go and look at the solution for I. What are we supposed to do? We need to find the vector PQ and the vector SR, and hence determine. So, we've seen hence here. So, read the question and underline the salient parts. I've told you, let that be a habit. Hence, okay, meaning you have to fall on a particular result, or in your conclusion there should be hence. Then, okay, if you come to we need to calculate correct to 1 dp. So 1 dp, okay, 1 decimal place, and the bearing correct to the nearest degree. So nearest degree. Okay, so you underline that, and indirectly we are protecting our marks. So quickly, let's go and look at the solution, okay, together. Okay, so as usual, the first thing that after reading the question, underlining the salient part, you write is what solution. Then after that, the question number. And here we need to extract, okay, the, okay, points or the vertices given. So if you extract that, that will be V1. Okay, then we know, like I said in the question 1, once you are dealing with vectors and you are giving points, let us know the vector representation of each of the points. Okay, because you'll be dealing with vectors. So every point is a position vector. So on that note, OP will be equal to this in the column form, OQ, okay, OR in the column form, then OS also in the column form. Okay, so after that, what do? We need to come and draw. Okay, you need to come and draw this. At the normal circumstance, this is supposed to be part of your main work, but I advise you to do it here indirectly. It's a vital, okay, rough work. That's the more reason why the other one I didn't cancel it. Okay, so if you draw it here, you save space. Okay, and when you are drawing, you don't draw in ink, I've told you, and you don't use your free hand as well. And the labeling of your vertices must flow, just as the name PQRS. So it will be PQRS. If you label it anything and it's not flowing, okay, when you read along and it's not PQRS flowing, it means the naming is wrong. Therefore, the diagram equally will be wrong. Okay, so now let's come to the vector PQ. You know that the vector PQ will be, okay, OQ vector minus OP vector. So you go and substitute the corresponding, okay, vectors, and you do your algebra. 2 minus minus 2, that will give us 2 plus 2, 4. Minus 1 minus 3, that will give us minus 4. So that gives us what? The vector PQ, one of the vectors that we are looking for. If you like, you can draw your conclusion here. But like I said, because the question asks together, my conclusion will be drawn together as well. Okay, if you want to separate yours, it's allowed. Okay, only that the marks in the conclusion here, you know what to do. One will come here for your conclusion, and the other one will also take the 1 for the second conclusion. So now, what do? SR. We need SR too. SR will be equal to OR minus OS. Okay, OR, you come and substitute 50. OS, you know all of them, you substitute. And you know this one will give you combined corresponding components, though one of the, vectors that we have here involve letters. You can still combine, only that it will be 5 minus A. Okay, then 0 minus B will give you minus B. So the S component of your combination, that is the SR, and the Y component will be this as well. So at this point, you can comfortably draw your conclusion. Therefore, the vector PQ is equal to this, and the vector SR is equal to what you have here. Okay, like I said, if you had your conclusion drawn separately, okay, 1 mark will go for the first conclusion, and the second mark, 1 mark will go for the second conclusion. You don't lose any marks anyway. Okay, now, okay, what are we supposed to do? We need to find the coordinates of S. So it means we need to find the values of A and B, and we will know the coordinates. Okay, so now what do? We know, because there's a parallelogram, okay, the magnitude here will be the same and they are in the same direction. Okay, when vectors have the same magnitude and are moving in the same direction, they are equal. So opposite side, okay, here will be equal. So it means vector PQ will be equal to vector SR. So that is the statement that we have here. And now what is your vector PQ? You know that to be 4 minus 4, and that should be equal to your vector SR. Okay, so at this point, we are dealing with equality of vectors. Okay, once you have two unknowns, you know we need to generate two equations before we can find. The first one will give us 4 is equal to 5, okay, minus A, which is what we have here. This is in only one letter, so you can make A the subject. So A will be equal to what? 1. If you move A here and you move the 4 here, you get, okay, I always want to avoid negative. So it will be A here, then 5 minus 4, which will give you 1. And this one too, okay, you equate the Y component, and that will give minus 4 is equal to what? Minus what? If someone who is matured will just write 4 is equal to B straight away. Okay, so in this case, you know, okay, I know that from your presentation, some of you divided. Please, when it's negative 1, just move this one to the side and this one to the side. You avoid, okay, that's what, volume, a little volume of work there. So we are going to get B is equal to 4. Okay, so at this point, we were not asked to find the values of A and B. Okay, you were asked to find the coordinates of S. So your conclusion must be drawn, okay, in that form. Okay, so hence the coordinate, it means we are looking for, even this one too, the coordinate should have been underlined. Okay, so we know our final answer should be in the point form, not in the vector form. So hence S, the coordinate will be 1, what, 4. Don't write hence the coordinate of S. Write it this way. It implies the same thing and it will save you time. Okay, all right, and same explanation for the first one. So that will be it for the I. Now, we are going to look at the II, what are we supposed to find? We need to find the magnitude of the vector SQ. Okay, before you can find the magnitude of the vector SQ, you need to know the vector SQ itself. So you ask yourself, do you know the vector SQ that you can directly find its magnitude? No. So it means the first thing to do is to find that particular vector. So SQ vector will be equal to OQ vector minus OS vector. Okay, and that will be equal to OQ, you know, OS, you know. Okay, so now you simplify this, combine this, okay, or perform this algebra, which will give you this. Okay, and that is supposed to, I think this is supposed to be in red. Okay, so take note of that. All right, I didn't, okay, the mark here, A1 was supposed to be in red. I think it's an omission on my part. Okay, but it's not a grave error, so you can still see it there. I will do the correction later. So at this point, now that you know the vector, you can go and find its magnitude. So therefore, the magnitude of the vector SQ will be equal to root of, okay, and you are going to get, okay, you know how to find the magnitude of a vector. The S component squared plus the Y component squared. Now, like I've advised, okay, always anytime you are substituting, put it in brackets. And that will give you 1 squared is 1 plus 5 squared minus 5 squared will give you 25. Okay, without the bracket here, it will be M0. Take notes and your final. So that will give us root of what? 24. But because the question asks us to take our answer to 1 dp, remember, I said your first approximation for dp, before you take it to what? Your 1 dp, which is the required approximation, and that's where the unit should come. Okay, if you ignore the unit here, no issues. But your final answer, okay, the unit you cannot ignore. Take note of that. So that will be it for the, what do you call it, the I, okay, I. Okay, now we are going to look at what the, okay, so what else? Yes, we are going to look at what the I. I think there should have been I here. Okay, I forgot. So you will do the needful. So let me pick it here and do that. Okay, so there should be, okay, so I. Okay, here. So here I'm looking for SR, the bearing of what? The vector SR. So if you are looking for the bearing, you should know. Okay, we need to know the vector SR itself. Okay, SR itself. So let's see, do we know the vector SR? Yes, we found the vector SR. Okay, in I. Okay, so you go and infer, and SR is equal to this. So once you know the column form of the vector, you should be able to find its bearing. So we come on the bearing. Remember, I told you you are compelled to draw. So this will be your X, this will be your Y, which happens to be your true north as well. Okay, don't forget. Okay, so with this, okay, here the movement for the Y, the S is positive, so you move 4 units on the positive X axis, and the Y is negative, okay, 4. So you move, okay, down, 4 units down on the negative. So your, like I told you, your, what do you call it? Size of the triangle here, none of them should, okay, we shouldn't see negative anywhere because it's a side of a triangle. The negative, okay, whether it's with the X component, Y component, both, okay, you should know, will tell us the quadrants. So we use the negative to draw this line, and this is the vector that we are talking about, your vector SR. Okay, so if you like, you can write it there. Okay, SR. Okay, so that's your vector SR. Okay, so your first, you move from here to here, then you came from here to here, and this will be the resultant. Okay, so at this point, if you look at what the, if you are looking for the bearing, you know the bearing will be this 90 plus this angle here. Okay, the angle between this your vector and the x-axis that your vector is located in that quadrant. Okay, so at this point, your bearing will be 90 plus theta. It's theta that we are supposed to go and find. Then voila, we know our, what do you call it, bearing. Okay, so in this case, what do we have? We know for us to find theta, okay, we know the opposite and the adjacent, so we have to go and use tan. So we write, okay, tan theta is equal to 4/4. And you shouldn't see any negative here. Immediately you see negative here, you are doomed. Take note. You are going to lose the entire marks here. Okay, so that will give us, we know that theta will be equal to tan inverse, and I saw some of you still writing 4/4. Remember, 4/4 is the same as 1. Okay, in any case, you won't lose any marks there. But okay, you will write more and you will lose time, sort of. So that will be equal to tan inverse of 1, we all know, is 45 degrees. Okay, so therefore the bearing of SR, your vector SR, will be equal to 90 degrees plus 45 degrees, which gives us what? 135 degrees. In actual fact, we're asked to correct it to the nearest degree, and it's already in its whole, okay, normal, okay, degree. So that will be it for the question, okay, what do you call it? So let me clear that. Once I've used that one to explain question 2. So quickly, let's go and look at what. Okay, so the whole question 2, the total marks will be what? 42. So please take note. I don't know whether I factored this one in. Okay, if you check and it is more than, okay, 42, meaning if you add this and it's more than 42, please take note. This is what we are going to do. I think I will take, okay, 1 mark here. Okay, so this will be M1. But if it was factored in, then it will still remain M2. Okay, take note of that. Okay, so quickly, let's look at our next, okay, slide. Okay, so the next slide, okay, that takes us to question 3, okay, which happens to be a statistics what question. Okay, so at this point, we are given this table, okay, and we are told the table shows the ages of 20 children in a household. Okay, so we have this table. Given that x is to y is equal to 1 is to 2, find the, okay, A, values of X and Y, then B, the mean age of the children. Okay, so now you know for every probability question that involves, okay, it comes in a, what do you call it? Uh, a table form, frequency distribution table form. Okay, extract your two columns. Okay, in this case, it will all usually come in rows, but you, okay, it's better you extract it, okay, column wise. So if by so doing, your age, will be X, and your number of students will be the same as the frequency, so F. Okay, so what do we do? This is what we have. We extracted these two columns directly from, okay, the information provided. Okay, so at this point, this is it. Okay, what do we do? We are told, okay, that we have two letters, okay, or two unknowns. So it means we need to generate two equations. Okay, and you can see that this one is giving you an information for an equation and also the total, like I told you, okay, in the lesson, okay, on statistics. So A, we are told that X is such that Y is equal to 1:2, okay, or X is to Y is equal to 1:2 or 2. So it is the same as S over Y is equal to 1/2. Okay, and here you cross multiply, and that gives you 2x is equal to y, or y is equal to 2x. You know, we are going to do, we have two unknowns. So, and the first equation contains the two unknowns. So likely we need to solve two equations simultaneously. Okay, so now you label this as equation 1. Someone can choose to bring this one here and write equal to 0. Take it in the usual form. But if you always think before you write, okay, you write less. So because when I form the equation, y is automatically made a subject, I prefer using the substitution method here. Okay, because y is already made a subject. So I will label this as equation 1. Then again, you know that you were told that the total number of children that you had there, okay, 20, we're dealing with 20. So it means if you sum your frequency, okay, you are supposed to get what? 20. So sigma f should be equal to 20. Okay, you should know that. And now what is your sigma f? You come and, okay, sum all that you have there. So the whole number part, if you sum, you will get 8. Okay, your x will be 2x. The y, if you sum, you get also 2y. So it's 8 plus 2x plus 2y. That will be your sigma f. So it means your sigma f should be equal to what? 20. Okay, now what do we do? Okay, I decided to move this one to this side, write it in the standard, but after doing so, you realize that someone, and most of you labeled your equation here. I've told you before you label your equation, check whether it doesn't involve bracket, clear or bracket. It doesn't involve fraction. And again, if it can be reduced, we reduce. And this equation clearly can be reduced. You can divide through by 2, and that makes the equation prettier, okay, by so doing. So that gives us this. And at this point, I can label this as equation 2. Okay, those of you who move this one to the side, elimination will be the best one, because to be 2x minus y, you add to eliminate the y, because the coefficients neglecting the sign will be the same. The sign will tell you whether to add or subtract to eliminate. Okay, I know from the onset that I was going to use the substitution method. Okay, so at this point, I come and write equation 1 into equation 2. And this will always be too short to take a line. Okay, so comma. So it means wherever I see y, it is what? 2s. I come and substitute. So that will give me s plus 2s is equal to 6. So I'll get 3s is equal to 6. Okay, write it again before I divide. And I'll get s to be equal to 2. Because I will need x to find my y, I label this s equal to 2 as what? My third equation. Then if you move on to the next one, you will get what? 3 into equation 1. And that will give you y is equal to 2s, but your s is 2. That was your 3. Okay, and always this will be too short to take a line. And I've told you, don't write equation this way. Just, okay, or don't write put, don't write substituting. I still saw that in. As for those of you who wrote put, okay, I've told you, don't write put. Put there is not. Okay, you are not. If you want to write, then write putting. Okay, substituting. I've told you it's not necessary. Okay, don't write that. Just write your equation number into the equation you want to substitute into. So in this case, don't write equation this way. I'm reiterating because don't write equation 1 this way, equation 2. Okay, just write this one either circled or in bracket. It's read as what? Equation 1. Okay, so at this point, if you simplify, you get y to be equal to 4. So you now come and draw your conclusion. Therefore, s is equal to 2 and y is equal to 4. Okay, someone could have drawn the conclusion for the y here. Okay, therefore y is equal to 4. Then 1 mark will go there. Okay, then when you had your x2, okay, someone can go and draw the conclusion there as well. Therefore, s is equal to 2. That one to 1 mark will go there. The conclusion mark, okay, will go there. However, like I said, it was asked together, so conclusion must be drawn together. And minus 1 for each wrong value. Okay, look at that. Then B, what are we supposed to find? We need to find the mean age of the, and we know from a frequency distribution table, okay, and here is on group frequency distribution table, we know that mean is equal to sigma fx over sigma f. Okay, so we know our sigma f, okay, but we don't know sigma fx. So we have a column for f, so we can sum and get sigma f, but we don't have any column for fx, the product of f and x, for us to sum. So this tells us that we need to go and create that column. Okay, so this is your x, this will be your f. So it will be this time this for your fx column. Okay, so it will be 5 times 2. Okay, this time this will give us 6 times 2x, which will give us 12x. Then the same 6 times this because it will be 6 times the whole of this. So each of the tens will be multiplied by 6. Okay, the same for what you have here. Multiply each of the tens by 7. Okay, this by 8. Okay, this by 9. Okay, then this by 10, which will give us this. So you come and sum. If you sum the whole number, okay, part will give us, or the number part, okay, constant part will give us what? 58. The x part, you have only one of them, so 12x. The y, you have 2. This plus this will give you 17y. Okay, so at this point, okay, the entire table is supposed to give you 6 marks. Okay, minus half for each error. Each table value that is wrong will be minus half. Take note of that. Okay, so at this point, we know the sigma f over, okay, sigma fx, we now know we can come and substitute over sigma f, which is this. And at this point, somebody, okay, you know your x, you know your y. Okay, so you can carry out your substitution here. I decided not to carry out the substitution for the denominator because we know that the denominator sigma f should give us 20 if you substitute. Okay, you know, and someone could have written 20 here also straight away. So it's just that you need to go and substitute. Okay, that's not to say that if you write it this way and you substitute x into the denominator, you'll be marked down. Only that it will mean more work. You know that sigma f should give you 20. Why don't you write it 20 straight away? Meaning if you substitute, you get 20. So what do we then do? We come and simplify the numerator. So the numerator, if you multiply this and this, okay, this will give you this will give you that. Okay, then, okay, you sum, okay, the numerator, you are going to get 150 over the denominator, which is 20. Okay, then what do you do? Okay, you know, if you simplify this, that will give you 7.5. Okay, if you like, you can conclude with a fraction. There is nothing wrong with that. Only that usually, okay, we leave our answer in terms of decimal. So in this case, we will avoid, okay, the decimal cannot be avoided. But that's not to say that if you wrote, okay, 7.5, okay, years as your, 7 whole number, 1 over 2 as your final answer, you'll be marked down. Okay, so take note, okay, of that. So in this case, without, okay, the unit, it will be minus 1. At normal circles, it should have been 0. Okay, so I'm being lenient here. So the question 3 will be 31 marks. So if you sum all the marks together, question 1 mark, okay, question 2 and question 3 are supposed to get 100 marks. So please take notes, don't forget to indicate your score over the total score on top of either your first page or your last page. Take notes, and it should be boldly written. Okay, and when you are capturing your work that you submit to me, okay, it must be visibly, okay, seen. All right, okay, so at this point, this will be it for the end of today's, okay, lesson. Okay, thank you very much for your time and attention. God bless us all.